This is a video about one of our favourite plant friends, the daisy, and all of the medicinal properties you might not have known about, and how to make a daisy syrup for your medicine cabinet. Watch on to find out more.
Seeds in the garden. Seeds in the garden. Seeds in the garden.
Hello, I'm Fiona, one of the Seed Sisters. We Seed Sisters are clinical herbalists, self-proclaimed herbal drama queens, eco-activists, also authors and the founders of a community interest company, a not-for-profit organisation called Sensory Herbal Evolution, which is focused on bringing medicine back into the hands of the people, providing herbal education. We like to blend science and magic in all of the work that we do, and we welcome you to this video today all about the daisy, the power of the daisy. This herb here, Bellis perennis, which is common daisy. It grows a lot in the lawns and fields here in the UK and is particularly native to most parts of Europe. We absolutely love the daisy, and we want to share a little bit of the medicine, but also a recipe with you that you can create to pop into your herbal cabinet, a daisy syrup. And this plant, Bellis perennis, isn't often taught about on herbal medicine degrees, certainly not when we did it 20 years ago. And it's amazing to us because this beautiful little herb has such amazing medicinal properties, yet was almost overlooked until its recent revival, which we're absolutely thrilled about. So daisies, you might see them growing in the lawn, and even after the lawn has just been mowed, the daisy will almost bow her head out of the way and then pop back up. A freshly mown lawn can still have daisies appearing in it. They have this ability to get out of the way of danger, and we like to bring that magical association with the daisies into the work that we do, thinking that daisies help us to have emotional resilience, help us to bounce back where there's been challenges or issues. And interestingly, some of the scientific paper has put daisy into a category of herbs called anxiolytics, and that's not a commonly used attribute of the daisy. We often associate her with lymphatic and bronchial connections. So daisy, the Latin name Bellis perennis, comes from the Latin bellides, meaning beautiful, because she is. She even has these little pink frills around some of her white flowers. And perennis, we know perennial herbs are the herbs that come back each year from the same root stem, which the Bellis, the daisy, does. But in this instant, perennis is meaning pervades throughout the year, or is long-lasting, is resilient. So it's the beautiful, resilient herb, and we really love that. We started discovering daisy many years ago when at a yoga centre that we used to visit weekly had, still to this day, the most daisies that we'd ever seen growing in the lawn. Thousands upon thousands of daisies. And we were just asking ourselves, we know that daisy's part of the Asteraceae, formerly known as the Compositae family, which is also known as the daisy family. There is hundreds of plants part of this plant family, and we learned a lot about calendula or marigold in our university degree. And knowing that daisy was part of the same family, it made us think, we wonder if there's anything there with the daisies. And there were so many daisies, and they're so exquisitely delightful to collect. They pop as you pick the heads of them, that we gathered baskets and baskets full of the daisies that year. And we turned those daisies into syrup. We had to buy a new, well, second-hand, huge, big, double-sided fridge to put in our shed out the back to house all the daisy syrup that we'd created. So it got us to thinking, what can we do with this daisy? And Daisy really spoke to us about everybody needing daisy, everyone needing a little bit of daisy love in their lives, this real sense of joy that the daisy brings. Daisy's often one of those first interactions with nature as a child. If you remember making daisy trains or picking off the petals of do they love me or do they love me not? So we harvested all of these daisies, and then we started to think, what's going on medicinally here? And when we first brewed up the daisy to make a syrup, the first thing that you need to do is make a really strong tea. And we'll put the recipe at the end of this video. But if you make a daisy tea, I've just made a little bit in this jug here, and I'm just going to pour it out into this glass. But you will see that instantly the glass gets this froth on the top of it. And whenever you see froth in a herbal tea, it indicates that there's saponins. That word saponin, it sounds a bit like soap. And actually they are the compounds that create that soapy sensation on your hands and can be very good for breaking down fats, for washing with. Saponins, we know, have an expectorant action, particularly in the lung. Burp, burp. Saponins, we know, have a particular action of expectorating mucus from the lungs. They do this via a reflex action. When you drink the tea, and the saponins go down through the digestive system, they start to almost irritate the tissues. And one of the cranial nerves, one of the awesome cranial nerves that's the furthest reaching is called the vagus nerve, the wanderer. Vagus translates that from the Latin. And that vagus nerve wanders through the body to different organs and creates communication between the organs in our body and our central nervous system and our brain. So via the stomach, that reflex irritation of these saponins will then cause the lungs to expectorate any mucus that's there. So Daisy is excellent for a cough where it feels like something needs to be brought up. It can really help to loosen and shift stuck mucus. Brilliant for coughs, and we often have used them with children combined with different antimicrobial herbs in there as well, which is why the syrup works so well, because kids really love the flavour of it, especially if you use a little dash of vanilla or something in there as well. So other applications of Daisy, one of Daisy's folk names is bruisewort. And this is because externally, those same compounds, actually, the saponins, can actually help to break down pooled blood under the surface, which is what bruising is. It's where those little fine, tiny capillaries leak out blood where they've been damaged, and it pools in the tissues. And the Daisy really helps to break that down more quickly. So really helps bruising to dissipate. So a little bit like arnica, which grows high up in the mountains and is only as an external preparation. But Daisy is a much more accessible and abundantly growing herb that can be applied for these external bruises and sprains to help to heal and support. The Daisy, like calendula in the same plant family, also has this lymphatic action to help the lymph to do its job of clearing away inflammatory mediators or anything that's hanging around. It can help the lymph to filter the blood almost and help to clear things away from the site of injury. So a great herb externally and internally. And we'd really like to share the recipe with you now, which is also in our book, the Sensory Herbal Handbook, which you can actually follow the recipe along in there. And here's a video version of it for you to enjoy.